This is Cobblemon 100 Days, where we capture all types of legendary Cobblemon, create huge cities using mine colonies, and fight insane gym leaders. We have 100 days to get all 8 gym badges and capture at least 200 Pokemon. Can we do it? Who knows? Day number 1 of Cobblemon. Let's go, we're going to choose our starter. So we are going to pick maybe Totodile, maybe Rowlet. But I think the obvious choice is to go for my boy Grookey. So let's check out his stats. He has Overgrow as the ability, Branch, Poke, Scratch, Growl and Taunt. And his IVs are, questionable. But it's not too bad. We could have got worse. So I send Grookey straight out into battle against this Lechonk. And we got a piece of bacon for it, I guess. I then found a ruined portal. And we found this Delicat, I believe that is, and a Combi. So I thought, a level 7 Combi is probably the best choice for our Grookey to fight. So as I was fighting the Combi, we had a little fire instant with this Delicat, but other than that, our Grookey was able to actually use Scratch and take the Combi out. We then got a Charty Berry for our reward, I guess. In this ruined portal chest, we actually came across the item for Heatran. So eventually we'll be able to spawn in Heatran and hopefully capture him. We also got a few different items such as a piece of gold, some obsidian, and a cool helmet and pants, which for some reason have a sculpt trail on them. I don't know, it must be a modded item. Grookey then showed his dominance and destroyed his Tootle with one attack. Our boy is growing up. There was then this little house which I found, so I decided, what's the best thing to do but raid the chest. So we got a load of healing items which could come in useful later on. There was actually a second chest in there as well, and it actually contained our first Pokeballs. So hopefully we'll be able to catch some new Pokemon with our new Pokeballs. I then stumbled across this village, and of course what I had to do was steal all the items. But first, I nearly died. So we found a revival herb though, which is pretty good for revives later on. As I said, I stole all the stuff, and then obviously I took over a house, as you would do in any village. This seemed to be a crate house with a load of crate items, which are pretty cool. On day number 3, we found this Galarian Rapidash, which looked amazing. I then decided I was going to do Minecraft things and make myself a wooden pickaxe, which might be useful. Then there was a Growlithe hiding next to my house, so I thought, this is the best chance we're going to get, so why not try and use some of our Pokeballs. So we went in with a Scratch. The Galarian Rapidash got in the way, of course. Of course he does. But then we was able to get him down to quite low health and throw ourselves a Pokeball. We only had 3 Pokeballs, so hopefully we was able to catch him. And with that catch, we had ourselves our second team member. Look at this little Growlithe. Level 11 Growlithe with Flash Fire, Bite, and IVs, which are pretty good. 0 speed, but I can just ignore that for now. I went caving for a little while and I came across our first evolution stone. We got ourselves a little sunstone, which would be really good for evolving Pokemon later on. For some reason there was a biker just randomly in the cave, so I decided I would try and fight him. Our first trainer battle, which would be really, really cool. I sent out Growlithe, I pulled back Grookey, and we were just going to bite. He was only level 5 anyway, so I feel like we'd have a good chance of beating him. So with 2 bites, I was pretty much able just to take him down. And for some reason the biker in the cave only had 1 Pokemon. We were able to get a little TM here for winning, so we chose Sucker Punch. I then came across a Drillbur, which I feel like I wanted to add it to my team. So I threw in Growlithe, done a few bites, and then I was able to hopefully throw a Pokeball. And with that capture, we had the 3rd member of our team. I decided to go back and try and make a few more Pokeballs, as I wanted to go on a little boat adventure. However, we didn't really get far, and a legendary Fione spawned. Yeah, I was not prepared for this one. He was level 50 as well, and I only had a few Pokeballs, so I tried my best, tried a few times. However, we wasn't really going to be able to catch this, so I moved on, and I found this little house. Now this little house had a bunch of different items. We had our first special Pokeball in a netball in one of the chests. We had a few different healing items as well, as you do. And then we came across a Dusk Ball, which is going to be really helpful, and a few more other healing items. On day number 5, it was a day of trying to level up some of my Pokemon. So I decided to just destroy this trainer right now, and we got ourselves a few orange berries for it. It was actually time for our first rival fight of the 100 days. Now, I do believe we're a little bit over-leveled at this point, and he does have a level 5 Charmander, and we have a level 14 Grookey, Growlithe and Drillbur, but, you know, it's fine. So, what do? We Mud Slap with our Drillbur. There we go, it was super effective damage. The Charmander used Growl on us, and then we could Mud Slap again and take out his little Charmander. And that's the only Pokemon he had, so it was a pretty easy rival fight at that point. I then crafted up myself a metal pickaxe and added this Zubat to our team. For some reason the video didn't capture me capturing the Zubat, but I caught him anyway, so there you go. You could just have my say that I did catch it. We then came across some redstone, and we came across our first diamond. As we are playing Minecraft, this was a pretty, obviously, important thing to showcase, even if it did fall down to the end of the earth, but I managed to collect it anyway. After all that mining, I decided it was probably time for an upgrade, so I made this oak iron chest and filled it up completely. We then came across this Yamper, level 15, and I thought electric type might be pretty good to have just on our team, so I took the opportunity and threw a few Pokeballs at it. After catching the Yamper, I decided to go on a little exploration mission, and I came across this windmill which looked actually insane. I really love this windmill. I feel like I'm going to have to do something with this in the future in our world. But this has a load of create stuff in it, which is really cool. There was also this in there, which is kind of insane. It's the spawner item for type Null, which is really cool. I was then destroying a load of the, I guess, pots, and look what we found. The spawn item for the god himself, Arceus. So one day we're going to be able to get an Arceus and a type Null, which is going to be awesome. I then decided, I think I want to move next to this. So I thought, you know what, there's this little island here. I'm going to try and destroy some of the land here, clear out some of the grass, and this is going to be our new base location. So that's exactly what I did. I destroyed a crap ton of the dirt, literally just destroyed seeds for about what felt like 4 hours. I used my iron shovel and pretty much all the iron I had just to make shovels and destroy all the dirt in this area. This is the progress I had made. I feel like we destroyed quite a lot of dirt. It was about 3 dirt thick, and then I replaced the stone with some more dirt so we could turn it all into grass. I then went out and found this redwood tree, and these trees are massive, so I decided why not just try and grow one, and yeah, that tree might be just a little bit too big. Then, as I was looking in my chests, I came across a Scorbunny. So, obviously, we took our Growlithe out, and it was time to fight the Scorbunny. Which is really cool. We got another starter to add to our collection. Hopefully we can try and catch him. I started off with a bite. We could hopefully try and get him down to quite low health. Got him down to 19%, and we can throw our first Pokeball. Ooh. And we got ourselves a Scorbunny, which is really cool, and that is our 6th Pokemon. We have 6 Pokemon in our team. I put down some apricot tree leaves, and then I was actually able to put the apricot tree saplings onto the bushes, and I could just grow apricots as much as I want. As long as I had enough bone meal, we could just grow them forever. So this is going to be our little farm to get apricots and try and make a load of different Pokeballs, hopefully. I put down some barrels just so we can store all our apricots in a little area over here. I then came across a Crobat, our first alpha spawn, which is kind of crazy. Now basically the alphas spawn in with a little version of their full evolution, I guess. So this Crobat spawned in with a Zubat and a Golbat. Now these do actually attack you, as I found out, and died to, but eventually I was able to actually put him in a Pokeball, and we had ourselves a level 57 Alpha Crobat. Now this Crobat does actually have 3 perfect IVs, so it's 31 special defense, 31 speed, and 31 HP. However, it has 0 in attack, so yeah, it's not great. Not great at all. But I mean, it would be a good breeder down the line. I then caught this little Bonsley which spawned, which is a pretty rare spawn, a little baby Pokemon. On day 8, I decided it was probably time that I upgraded my world that I'm playing on, so I added the Distant Horizons mod, and look at this. This is actually amazing. I love it. I love Distant Horizons so much. It just lets you see so far, and it just makes the game so much better, honestly. As you can see, there was actually structures in the world as well, and while I was just messing about, we came across this Cyndaquil. So obviously, as you do, I decided I would try and scratch and throw him into a Pokeball. After catching the Cyndaquil, I found this guy. It was a level 30 Zoroark just chilling, so he was pretty pissed off at me, so I was hiding on top of a 2-block tower. But I was getting chased, and I decided the best idea was probably to trap him into a boat until I could make some more Pokeballs. So that's exactly what I did. I went back, made some Ultra Balls, and we could try and capture this Zoroark. There we go. I was then walking around and I heard this. Look, we had our first shiny. It was a shiny Skitty. It's not the best shiny in the world, but I mean, it's a shiny, right? So I thought I'd catch it. A level 19 Skitty, and we can add him to our collection. We then went out and got ourselves some more diamonds, made ourselves a diamond pickaxe and a diamond sword. Hopefully these will last longer than our iron tools. I then went out and got myself a little Poliwag. Obviously the first gym is Brock, the rock gym leader, so yeah, I thought a Poliwag might do pretty well against it. What else goes with a Poliwag but a Slowpoke as well? So there was a level 14 Slowpoke. Why not try and catch it? And we could use it in our fight against Brock as well. As I was just trying to catch that Slowpoke, look what spawned. A level 60 shiny Bidoof. What? I mean, we have a shiny Bidoof now. So, I mean, look at this little guy. It was time for our first gym battle versus Brock, with his Archon, Onyx, Alolan Geodude and his Vulpix. So I start off the fight with our Grookey versus the Alolan Geodude. I then switch out to GlowUmbra, and he's hopefully able to tank a self-destruct from the Alolan Geodude. He also heals a little bit by using his Orange Berry. Brock then decides to throw out his Vulpix, so GlowUmbra has to be withdrawn, and I throw out my Zubat. The Vulpix goes for Hidden Power, but it doesn't really do that much damage. I go for a Wing Attack, but Brock does switch into his Onyx, so it doesn't do hardly any damage whatsoever. As our Zubat's not really going to do much, I withdraw him and throw out Abusil. He takes a Rock Tomb to the face, but he's able to survive that pretty easy. He does get a speed drop, but we are able to use Water Gun, and he does attack with another Rock Tomb. We have an Orange Berry on Abusil, so we're able to heal some health, and we're able to take him out with one Water Gun. He throws out his Vulpix, so again we go for another Water Gun. The Vulpix uses Incinerate on us, but it doesn't really do too much damage, and we're able to do over 50% of his health. However, he does use an Orange Berry, just like us, to heal some of the damage. Abusil does survive on 5 HP, but the next attack he does go down to the Vulpix Ominous Wind. We throw out our Slowpoke and hopefully go for another Water Gun. He uses a full restore on the Vulpix, but that's okay because our Water Gun should kill him in the next turn. Our Slowpoke does use his Orange Berry to heal some health, and the Vulpix goes down. After killing the Vulpix, Brock does bring in his Archon. So we do go for a Yawn. This will hopefully put the Archon to sleep in a couple of turns, even if the Slowpoke does die. The Archon uses a Rock Tomb and it gets us down to 9 HP. We can go for another Water Gun, but we actually do survive on 1 HP from the Rock Tomb. We use a Water Gun and it gets him down to 28% health, however he does eat his Orange Berry and goes back to over to 50%. We go for another Water Gun and we're able to take out the Archon. And there we go, we beat Brock, our first gym leader. And there we have it, we managed to beat Brock on our first try. How actually sick is that? We get straight off into day 11 and there was an Electrifier outbreak, which was really cool, right by my house, so I took the opportunity and caught myself a level 24 Electrifier. After doing that, getting some neat XP, we was able to finally evolve our little Grookey into Thwacky. Look at him, he's just as cute as the Grookey, to be honest. He really is. After a little while, it started snowing. I do have the Fabric Seasons mod, I believe it is, on, so obviously it just goes through the seasons, and I thought the snow just looked really cool. I'm working on the house right now, so hopefully we can do something good. But it's time for us to go to the Nether. Yep, somebody made a portal on our server, so let's just go and take a look what we can find. I mean, it's not the best Nether spawn in the world. I'm just going to dig through here and see what we can find. After digging out into a rose quartz biome, which looked really cool with all the different geodes around the area, I decided I was going to try and mine some, and I got myself a rose quartz cluster, I guess, and I also grabbed myself some quartz while I was at it. After heading back, look at this sunset on my journey back. Just take in the views. We was desperately in need of some bigger storage, so I created some chests from the sophisticated storage mod, and we was eventually going to be able to upgrade these chests as well, and I also added it into a crafting terminal. So I made 12 iron upgrades and added those to all our different chests. Then day 12 came along and I found this guy, a little Teddy Ursa to add to our collection. I finally was able to make the PC, and then I moved over to making a cobble gen. So this is basically a cobble generator which will automatically mine itself. If you ever played Skyblock, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this little drill here, connected to these cogs, will eventually just mine some cobblestone, and we will be using a lot of cobblestone in the future. As I've connected the hopper below, the cobblestone will go straight into the chest, and we basically just have unlimited cobblestone, which is really cool. I wanted to show off how much I've actually done on the house here, so I added some windows, added some walls, and I feel like it's looking pretty good. I then added some more stuff to the flooring, some like little wood logs and a little pathway, these white logs. And then I added some black, I believe this is basalt, black stone tiles, which is really cool, and they all connect as well. So now I decided our cobblestone generator wasn't really going that far, so I thought I would add a second, bigger water turbine. As yeah, it's a little bit bigger, and hopefully it'll speed up the breaking of our cobblestone. So look at that, look at the gears moving faster, and the drill should work a million times faster, getting us all the cobblestone we'll ever need. Now comes the tedious bit. On day 13, I basically spent the whole day just making this damn roof. Stairs are my worst nightmare. Honestly, I hate them. Trying to get them to turn and like connect with each other is just a pain in the arse. It really is. But eventually we was able to manage to get the roof done, and I feel like it turned out pretty nice. I think it connects well with the building on our left. We probably will add some other structures in the future around our base anyway, so yeah, I feel like it looks pretty good. We'll have to furnish it inside at a later date, but this is what it looks like as a outer shell, I guess. And I also added a little glass floor in our little stone tower bit here. After finishing the majority of the base, I decided to reward myself with making the healing machine. On day 14, I thought I would go out on an adventure, and I found this shipwreck, and it actually had the smithing template to be able to make the poker rod, and a few other netballs and relic coins as well. As I was adventuring, I decided I was going to treat myself to some more Pokemon friends. So there was this level 35 Graveler. Obviously we can't use this Graveler yet, but I thought it might be good for the future. So we have our Alpha Crobat. We used Bite a couple of times, and it was able to eventually throw a little Pokeball and hopefully catch the Graveler. And just like that, we have ourselves a new member of our team. I then went over to this jungle, and there was a Tropius sitting here. Look how sick and how big this thing was. It was crazy. So I decided to throw an Ultra Ball and hopefully add him to the collection just as well. Moving further into the jungle, I found myself a Tangler. Now I do really like Tangle growth, so maybe later on it is a level 39 Tangler, so we won't be able to use him for a decent while. And I also found a little Cottony. I feel like grass types are going to be useful in the future, so I'll just try to get as many as possible. After the Cottony, I was on this little like volcano grass land, I guess, and there was an Alolan Cubo, which is really cool. This will evolve into the Alolan Marowak. Obviously with the volcano theme, I found myself a Numel as well, so as I always will, I added him to the collection. As I was returning back home, I saw on the map that there was an interesting character on there, and I wanted to go hunt him down. Now, out of everything, this was one of the rarest spawns. It was a Ditto, and we was going to need this for breeding later on, which is really good. So I caught him and headed back home. After that, I was able to finally evolve my Cyndaquil into our little GlowUmbra. Now, I didn't realise this, but you can actually make the King's Rock with some sandstone and some gold, so I thought, why not? We have a Slowpoke. Maybe this might be able to allow us to evolve our Slowpoke into Slowking. We can actually use this link cable as well. Obviously, this would normally be a trade evolution, but we can use the link cable to act as a trade evolution and get ourselves a Slowking in the process. I had a Haunter sitting in my box, so I thought I'd use another link cable and get myself a cool looking Gengar. There was this little Vulpix I found in a little forest biome, so I thought, you know, I would try and catch him too. I like Ninetales, so it would be a good addition to our team one day. After finding the Vulpix, I found myself a Machop, so I threw an Ultra Ball and added him to our team as well. Now it's time for our next step in progression, which is Team Rocket Archer with his Houndour, Mightyena and his Impidimp. So firstly he sent out his Impidimp and I sent out Thwacky. I went for a Razor Leaf and was able to do a decent amount of damage, getting him down to 27%. He healed up a little bit, but then I was able to take him out with another Razor Leaf. He secondly sent out Mightyena, and this has Ice Fang and Poison Fang, so yeah, we switched out Thwacky and sent in GlowUmbra. He took an Ice Fang to the face, and we was able to switch out into our Gengar. Now this was a bad decision, as he does have Bite, and he literally instantly destroyed me. I sent out Machop, as Fighting type is super effective against Mightyena, and I was able to use a Karate Chop and a second Karate Chop to hopefully take down the Mightyena after just barely surviving on 5 HP. We got ourselves a little TR for the process, so I took Dark Pulse as our reward. Archer then sent out his Houndour and we was able to quick attack and take him out with GlowUmbra, and there we go, we have won the battle. Now we've defeated Team Rocket Archer, we only have one more person until we fight our next gym leader. After defeating Team Rocket Admin Archer on day 18, our little Poliwag evolved into a little Poliwhirl. Following the Poliwhirl, we was able to evolve our Buizel into Floatzel, which was really cool. Floatzel is one of my favourite Pokemon, so it's really awesome to have. After getting our Floatzel and our Poliwhirl, we could actually evolve our Weepinbell into Victory Bell. And I don't know why, but I really love the model and the look of this Victory Bell. It looks awesome. I then went exploring the ocean for a little while, and I came across another alpha Pokemon, an alpha Wishcash. The size of this guy is insane. So, you know what I had to do? I wanted to try and throw a quick ball and see if we could try and get it. It was level 50, so yeah. But luckily I was able to throw one Pokeball and catch it on the Wishcash. After catching a Wishcash, there was actually a Gyarados, so I scanned it into our Pokedex as well. Now it's time for our next Gym Leader. Gym Leader Misty with a Starmie, Lantern, Floatzel and a Frogadier. Let's see what we can do, hopefully it'll go well. So we start off with our Victory Bell. I quickly switch out into our Floatzel as I do believe an Ice Beam's coming my way. So, yep, there we go. It used Ice Punch on our Floatzel and it doesn't really do too much damage. Misty then brings out a Starmie. And we use Crunch and it goes down to 43%. However, it does heal up using its berry, so we go for another Crunch, and the Starmie uses Psyshock. We only survive on 8 HP, and I go for a Crunch and it gets it down to 16 HP. I then go for a priority move in Aqua Jet, but it doesn't kill the Starmie, and we go down. Next I send in my Electivire, and eventually I'm able to take it out with a Shockwave. Misty then sends out her Lantern, and sadly we're going to have to sacrifice our Electivire here. It does go down to an Icy Wind. We send in Thwacky, and it already is down to 15 HP, however we can retaliate back with a Razor Leaf, and we are able to take down the Lantern. Misty then sends in Floatzel, and we're able to fire off a Razor Leaf. However, it does outspeed us using Icy Wind, and kills the Thwacky. We then send in Gengar and we can go for a Hypnosis. The Floatzel then falls asleep and we can use Hex, which does an amazing amount of damage if the opponent's Pokemon has a status condition. We're able to use the same trick again of using Hypnosis and put the Frogadier to sleep. We then use Hex on it again and the Frogadier goes down. And there we go, we have beaten Misty. And what do we get for our reward? We get a little Magmarizer, which is really cool. We can evolve our Magby that we get one day into a Magmortar. However, a legendary Phonius appeared just after beating a gym leader, so I thought, why not? Let's go try and catch it. There was a little Phione over here, level 50. This actually would be our first legendary catch if we're able to catch it. And just like that, we have our first legendary. Obviously it is Phione, so we're not really going to be able to use it too much, but look how cute it is. It is a very... On day 21, it finally reached the winter season, which means it started snowing, and then this guy spawned. He was absolutely huge, like ridiculously big. I then went down into the mines to hide from the snow and the winter weather, and I came across a Noibat, so I sent out Gengar, put it to sleep, and made him my friend. I then found myself a good bunch of diamonds, so I collected all of them that I could. Then came across this little guy. It was a level 28 Ferroseed, one of my favourite Pokemons in the whole game. So, of course, what did I do? I threw an Ultra Ball and made him my friend. After catching the Ferroseed, I came across this glowing mushroom biome. It kind of looks like the glowing mushroom biome from Terraria. I don't know, it just looks really cool. Then there was this Alolan Geodude. So I thought I'd try and collect some of the mushrooms while I catch the Geodude, and this happened. Yeah, I didn't realise that they could self-destruct outside of battle. I'm going to be more careful from now on. Then we came across this little fungus, which eventually will turn into Among Us, one of the coolest Pokemon in the game. Then there was this tiny little Tauros. I don't know what version of Tauros this is, but it looked pretty cool and it was tiny, so adding into my collection of Pokemon. On day 22, I decided I was going to build a farm, and yeah, I forgot to record it, so we have a little yellow axolotl, or golden axolotl in there, so yeah, this is our new little farm. We're going to grow berries and a load of food in here. Then I came across this Torkoal Outbreak, which was really cool. So an Outbreak basically spawns in a load of the same type of Pokemon, so this was a Torkoal one, We caught a few different Torkoals, and maybe I might add one to my team at some point. Then I bred up a Ferroseed and managed to get some pretty decent stats on it. I then planted some of the mints and some of the berries that we had in our storage system, just so we could start making more and eventually make some more cool crafting recipes. But now it's day 23 and it's time to face Brendan, with his Grovyle, Loudred, Crawdon and Lunatone. So firstly he sent out his Loudred and I sent out Torkoal. After Torkoal taking a Hyper Voice to the face, I thought it was a good idea to switch into Floatzel. However, sadly, Loudred could outspeed my Floatzel and killed him with Hyper Voice. I then went into Gengar and then I could use Payback to take out the Loudred. Brendan then sent out Grovyle and I switched it into my Ferroseed. After Brendan switched into his Crawdon, he used X-Scissor and killed my Ferroseed. I switched into Torkoal just so I could get the sun back up, and Torkoal died to another X-Scissor. Now with the sun being up, I was able to use Leaf Storm and take out the Crawdon, and then take out the Grovyle with a Poison Jab as well. Then came in the Lunatone, and he used Side Shock and it was super effective and killed my Gengar and Victory Bell. We only had Poliwhirl left, so hopefully we could get a bubble, and then we got the godly speed drop. That meant we could use another Bubble Beam and we could finally take out Brendan's last Pokemon. There we go, we won the battle. On day 24, it was finally time to evolve our Alolan Cubone into Alolan Marowak. Now he gets a Ghost and Fire typing. Look how sick this Alolan Marowak looks. Then obviously we could evolve our Tangler into Tangrowth that we had in the box, and then I made this little create contraption that I decided to dig a hole. I don't know what my thought process was of this, but this is what I spent the day doing, so might have been a bit of a waste of time. I then bred up a Grookey with some serious IVs. I then made the terrain extender and gave it to Grookey for when he eventually becomes a Rillaboom. And then I could eventually evolve him into a Thwackey as well. However, when I was doing that, there was a outbreak for Arcanine, so I took full advantage of that. Now, did you know that only 50% of the viewers that actually watch my videos are subscribed? So if you could hit that notification bell, I would appreciate it. And subscribe. Thank you all. We could evolve our Bellsprout into Weeping Bell. And then we could evolve this Mudbreed that I found, which was very, very large by the way, into Mudsteel. The size of this guy is insane. Like, he's bigger than my house. After that, I found a Waterstone that we had in our chest, and I gave it to our Poliwhirl to evolve him into a Poliwrath. Now we can finally evolve our Thwackey into our Rillaboom, and this Thwackey does actually have his hidden ability from breeding. So this Rillaboom is going to be an absolute game changer for us, honestly. Now it's time for gym number 3, and this is an electric gym with Lieutenant Surge, his Bolt Hand, Vikavolt, Perchin, Alolan Raichu and his Manectric. Let's see how we get on. So we start off the battle by sending in our Torkoal to get the sun up against his Perchin. We take back Torkoal and throw out our Rillaboom just so we can get our grassy terrain up. Now this Perchin is not really going to be able to do much, so we hit him with a Grassy Glide and then he hits us back with a Volt Switch. He switches into the Alolan Raichu and I switch into the Torkoal again. I then switch into our Mudsdale, and he switches into Bolthound, and we're able to take him out with a high horsepower. We're able to use a second high horsepower on the Perchin and take him out as well. We then throw our Camerupt against his Alolan Raichu, and we go for an Incinerate. However, the Alolan Raichu outspeeds us and gets us down to very low health, but we're able to take him out. And just like that, we take him down. Badge number 3 completed. On day 30, I decide it's time to just chill out for a bit. So I decide to do some decorating. Look at these little lanterns and this little like lampposts I made. They look pretty cool. On day 31, I thought it was time to start mine colonies. So I've got the town hall structure and I have my build wand. We're going to run over this little area next to my house over here and we're going to start our little colony. So how mine colonies works is you basically create your own colony and you can actually get your own villages and everything, and you get to select a style of building. So I've gone with the Nordic pack and now we've got a little town hall. In the year 264 after Creeper, we formally laid down the foundations of a new settlement henceforth called GlowUmbra's colony. So how mine colonies work is you can basically make your own colony, which is really cool. You'll basically get a few villages to start off with, but firstly we need to make a builder's hut. So we basically need to supply this guy with a few different pieces of resources, some like wood, some spruce, some fences obviously, and he will get busy and make his own little building hut, just like so. Our villager is making very good progress. I mean, I don't know what he's doing there, but this is his building hut. As the builder was busy building his hut, I connected our storage system to the one in our base. I then put down a guard tower and then a second guard tower as well. I then swam over to the other side of the river and planned out where I wanted the forester's hut to go. The builders was well on its way to building a load of structures. Look how beautiful this looks. A freak snowstorm started randomly, and on day 35 it said that an alpha spawned. And would you believe it? It was an alpha kingler, which was really cool. The size of this guy is insane. So of course, what did I do? I added him to my collection. Our builder was busy building a tavern, and this was going to allow us to get more citizens in our village. It passed a little bit of time and this builder had finished the tavern and moved on to the forester's hut. Now this was going to be able to get us a bunch of wood, and eventually one of the citizens will become a forester. Oh hello, we got very close and personal here. Once the forester's hut was done, the guard towers was next. As you can see, the forester's hut is the other side of the river. It took a little while, but on day 42 the guard towers were finally finished. I think I do have to admit, these guard towers do look really cool. I then found a child sleeping in a bed. I guess somebody was pregnant. I don't really know. I then took Crobat out for a spin, as I added a flying mod, which was really cool. As I got back from my journey, a Magnemite outbreak spawned. So what did I do? I added this Magnemite to my collection. After catching a few Magnemites, a shiny Sentra spawned, so got my Great Ball and I threw it at his head. Listen, that's the best way to make friends in this game, okay? I then came across this Shinx and I thought I'd put it in my Pokedex, and yeah, I made him my friend. Now I had the power of flight, I was pretty much unstoppable. And I came across this weird looking flying structure. I believe this is from the Create mod, or just a Create Editions mod, I don't really know, but it seemed to have a beacon on it. And listen, I'm taking the beacon. I'm taking everything. I loaded up my inventory as much as I could. Look how high we are in the sky though, it's kind of crazy. So obviously after I stole all these iron blocks and the beacon, I decided to take it home and get good use out of it. I mean, come on, look, people shouldn't be leaving their beacons just flying unattended, right? Then we built a fishing shack, I guess. I guess that was next. I then found these cool rainbow trees and decided to grow a few. I don't really know. It's quite cool though. On day 45, I came across this Pidgeot on the beach, this gravel beach. He was huge, so, you know, got my Great Ball, threw it at his head, and, you know, he just wanted to be my friend from then on. When I finally returned home, the builder had finally nearly built the town hall. The town hall is a centerpiece of any civilization, so it was good to finally have it nearly built. Apparently the fishing hut wasn't built, but now it is, I don't know. I then went over to the Nether on day 49, as I needed to catch a few different Pokemon and get a few resources. However, when I was exploring, I came across a very rare Gibble. Garchomp's one of my coolest and most favourite Pokemon, so you know what, I just had to get it. I really did. I got attacked by a few blazes, but eventually we managed to capture him. Now the reason I was coming to the Nether, I wanted to get this guy, Darumaka. Now he is a really cool fighting and fire type when he evolves, and he was going to be an essential part to beating some of the gym leaders in the future. I then decided it was probably time to build some residents and hopefully get some more people in our civilization. But as I was exploring, I found this Fletching the other side of the river, so I got distracted and caught it, of course. When I got back to my house, I realised this Fletching could actually evolve, so that's exactly what I did. Now one of my favourite Pokemon is actually Talonflame, so we can finally evolve this Fletching into Fletchinder. And apparently he could evolve again, so we got our Talonflame straight off the bat, which is actually insane. Talonflame is so good, such a good Pokemon, and it has such a good utility, honestly. Being a fire and flying type, it is really unique and really cool. Now we can actually evolve our Darumaka as well. There we go, we got our Darumaka and evolved it into Darmanitan. Then we evolved another one, Fungus, into Among Us. But now it's time for our next gym leader, Erica, with a Rillaboom, Superior, a Lone Electrode, Meganium and Venusaur. We start off the fight with Erica's Rillaboom vs our Torkoal. Now Torkoal does Sap the Sun when it goes into battle, so our Lava Plume will do a significant amount of damage after taking a high horsepower to the head. Rillaboom goes down to our Torkoal and then I switch into Amoonguss. Erica then brings out Meganium and Meganium does a decent amount of damage to our Amoonguss. I go for a Toxic onto the Amoonguss as it's a pretty tanky Pokemon. Erica then withdraws Meganium and switches into Venusaur, which means it's time for me to switch into Darmanitan. This is exactly the reason I got Darmanitan. Venusaur tries a Sludge Bomb and it does about just over half health, however we can reply it with a super effective Flare Blitz, which instantly kills the Venusaur. I then switch in Torkoal to set up the sun again against Erica's Alolan Electrode, or Hisuian? Hisuian Electrode? Might be a Hisuian. I then switch in Rillaboom as it can probably be the only thing that can tank an explosion from the Electrode, which is exactly what it does. Erica then sends in her Superior, and this is probably the scariest Pokemon on her team. She has the ability Contrary, which will basically turn a negative into a positive. So if we do any stat debuffs onto her, it would actually give her a buff, which is kind of insane. But luckily we have our Talonflame, and it can go for a super effective Flare Blitz. The Superior does hold on with its Focus Sash and gets it down to 1 HP, but we can hit it with another Flare Blitz and it will go down. The Meganium dies to the Toxic and to the Poison, and then we have won the battle. There we go, we have beaten Erica, our gym leader, and got the Rainbow Badge. And just like that, we have the Rainbow Badge, and we've ticked off our 4th badge on the list. I then tried to recruit a citizen, and he literally just ran off with my diamonds. Apparently that's the thing. Well, he stole my diamonds, so it is a thing. I then recruited another citizen by feeding him some potatoes, which was a lot less expensive. Later on during that evening, there was actually a pirate invasion, so I tried to save my village, and apparently there's some pirates and a lot of creepers in the area, apparently. I don't know, this place is a dangerous place. But the pirates kept on coming, so I sent out Darmanitan, and he was able to clear them up pretty easily. And just like that, we had stopped the pirate invasion. Then it was time for Ferroseed to finally evolve into Ferrothorn. Honestly, Ferrothorn is such a cool looking Pokemon. I love it. I then went exploring for a little bit, and I was in this underground darkwood biome, and apparently there was a creeper. And yeah, I died. I then came across this little trophy. This guy looking in a chest. I don't know. I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to show it off. After finding the trophy, I came across one of my favourite Pokemon, Roots. A male Roots, which is actually insane. I feel like I'm going to have to add this one to my team as well, and it is actually the largest size possible, being the legend size. I then flew home on my Talonflame with all our loot and our victories of catching a bunch of Pokemon. From one of the chests, I actually got the spawn item for Tapu Koko. Now, he's one of my favourite legendaries from the Sun and Moon series, and he should spawn in at level 50, which should be a good starting point for us. So, here we go. We have legendary Tapu Koko. So, there's only one thing to do, but to capture the Tapu Koko, who is actually level 60. So, we will be able to use him eventually against some of the gym leaders. And just like that, we had our first legendary Tapu Koko, which is really, really exciting. Look how sick he looks. It actually looks insane. On day 50, the Mine Colony's village was prospering very, very well. And to celebrate, we finished building this mining hut, I guess it's a hut? I don't really know, but he's eventually going to build a mine shaft, and we'll be able to get a bunch of ores from this. I feel like the building does look insanely cool. I had a bit of time on my hands, so I went round and tried to connect some of the buildings by just this little stone path, which I feel like added to just the whole vibe of the village, and just added things and connected all the buildings. I then went and built a restaurant. It required quite a bit of walls, so I went and hunted down a bunch of sheeps. But this is where some of the villagers will come over, get some food, and it will just automatically feed them, which is very, very helpful. And for some reason, there was a Pikachu hiding underneath this seat, so I added him to our collection. I then got one of our builders to start building a little residence house on top of the water, and added this little bridge just to tie things in a little bit. I then built a third guard tower because if we're going to get invaded, probably best idea to have as many guard towers as possible. Just after the guard tower had finished building, there was a shiny Taillow that spawned in, and Taillow is one of my favourite Pokemon, so obviously I had to try and add him to our collection. The shiny green of Taillow is actually really, really cool, and when he evolves, he does kind of lose the green shiny a little bit, but he still is a pretty good shiny to have. After catching our little shiny Taillow, I evolved our Rolts into Curlier, and then another shiny Taillow spawned straight after the first one. I don't know, but now we have two shiny Taillows for some reason. I don't know. I can't understand this game sometimes. I don't know what I'm gonna do with two shiny Taillows, but I guess one of them can go in our team. I've done some more leveling, and on day 53 we could finally evolve our Curlier into Gallade using a Dawnstone. Look at the size of this Gallade, it's kind of insane. He looks really, really cool though, like really, really cool. As we had two Taillows, I thought it was probably time to evolve one of our Taillows into Swellow and could eventually fit him into our team. You kind of do lose the little green colour on it, but it does look quite cool compared to the normal Swellow. Obviously, I had to take him out for a spin afterwards. It wasn't the fastest flyer in the world, but I mean, he looked pretty cool, and we're riding a shiny, so can't get better than that. On day 56, I was kind of just minding my own business, and I saw on the map there was a Keldeo had spawned. It didn't come up saying that there was a legendary spawned, but it was a level 70 Keldeo, so I tried my best and tried to catch it. Now, our Pokemon was severely underleveled for this fight, so my best hope was to kind of just throw some Pokeballs and hope for the best. After it killed pretty much all of my team, I thought I'd just try and throw some Pokeballs at it, and it didn't go very well. After I'd respawned and collected some of my loot, for some reason it was still here. I thought it was supposed to despawn when you get killed by it, but I just ran away and threw Pokeballs at it until hopefully it finally captured. And there we go, we have our second legendary captured. Now it's time for our next progression fight. And this was going to be against one of the coolest opponents ever. And this was Team Rocket's Giovanni, with Rotom Ice, Honchkrow, Infernape, Nidoking, and his Kangaskhan. So we start off the fight versus boss Giovanni. We send out our Torkoal to get the sun up and sends out Nidoking. We then swap into Ferrothorn and take a Earth Power to the face and end up dying. We send in Victory Bell and it does outspeed, thankfully, because it has its Chlorophyll ability. In the sun it doubles its speed and we're able to take out the Nidoking after putting it to sleep. Giovanni then sends in his Rotom. For some reason it was supposed to be Rotom Ice, but it just ended up being Rotom. I don't really know, the game glitched out. However, we killed the Rotom and he then sends in his Kangaskhan, which takes out our Victory Bell. I send a Rillaboom. Our Rillaboom goes for a Drum Beating, which gets Kangaskhan down to 40% HP. We can then follow that up with a priority Grassy Glide and take out the Kangaskhan. Next comes in the Infernape, and we go for a Grassy Glide, however we get outsped and the Infernape kills us. Next up it is our Swellow versus the Infernape, and we go for an Aerial Ace. Luckily we do survive a hit on 2 HP, which is kind of insane. We get the defense drop, both for the special defense and the defense, and we are able to take him out with an Aerial Ace. Next in is Giovanni's Honchkrow, and takes us out with a Sucker Punch. However, we can go into Torkoal and take him out with a Lava Plume, and there we go, we have beat Boss Giovanni. I have to admit that was a pretty cool fight. He had some interesting Pokemon to try and beat. And obviously the game glitched, so I had to take this opportunity to try and capture this Rotom. I've never seen a Rotom before, so you know, listen, you can't stop glitches from happening, so you might as well take the opportunity while you can, right? And there we go, we captured the Rotom. It was now day 58, and there was some Pokemon that I've not seen before spawn on top of this tower, so there was a Swablu, and I added them to our collection. As it was day 58, I kind of needed our civilization to keep growing, and we made this courier building which would basically distribute items to all the different places in our civilization. And while I was doing this, a little shiny Wooloo spawned, so I added him to our collection as well. So this was the courier building finally built, and I feel like it looks pretty cool. I was also going to build a warehouse next to it, as those two are practically linked together. So the warehouse will be where the couriers store all their items. Obviously, if we're going to build a warehouse and some bigger buildings, I kind of wanted to upgrade one of the builders to level 3, and that will basically allow us to build bigger and better structures for our civilization. On day 64, the courier building had finally finished, and the warehouse had finally finished as well. So this was going to be where the couriers would store all the items and collect all the items from all the different villages and different, I guess, places from our civilization. And while I was doing this, a Seedot spawned. So I captured him up and evolved him into Nuzleaf. Nuzleaf would work super well on our team, and obviously we had a Leaf Stone in our storage system, so I could evolve him into Shiftry. I then added a new mod and I went mining because this was the Mega Showdown mod. Now this would basically allow us to get a few different Mega Stones. This would basically allow us to eventually get a Mega Bracelet and get a Mega Stone of our choice. So there we go, we got overall Mega Stone, and we can eventually adapt that into a Mega Stone that we actually want. However, first we're going to have to find another geode and get a thing called a Keystone, which would allow us to make the Mega Bracelet. And there we go, we got the Keystone as well. So I went back and made a Focus Sash, and then we was able to make the Galadanite, which was actually insane. So now we got our Galade, I can click with the Mega Bracelet and we can turn him into a Mega Galade, which is really, really cool, and obviously would boost his stats to a crazy, crazy amount. So I put our new Mega Galade to the test and destroyed this level 1 hunter. So you can actually Mega Evolve in battle, and then once you come out the battle, it would de-Mega Evolve the Pokemon, just like it normally would in a normal game. Now that we had our Mega Evolution, I feel like it was time to prepare the rest of our team. And I wanted to add Garchomp to our team. So we got this Gible quite a while ago in the Nether, and we was going to evolve it into Gabite. I then done some leveling, and then I could evolve our Gabite into Garchomp. I feel like this actually has one of the coolest looking models in the whole game. I love it. I love it so much. On day 68, we'd finally started building a miner's hut, and this would basically allow us to get a load of resources, and he would just mine a load of cobblestone and build a mine down below. As you see here, he puts down all this himself and goes mining and makes a whole complete mine shaft, which is kind of insane, to be honest. I just think it looks really, really cool. However, later on during that evening, apparently there was barbarians. And there's pirates, barbarians. Like, why does nobody tell me this? Well, I don't get this. But obviously, we had to give them swift justice. Apparently, this was a thing in mine colonies, just getting raided 24/7. I don't really know. These people are evil, man. I don't understand. Like, why can't we all just be friends? But there was actually a trident guy there as well. And we're just going to skip past that. But now it is time for our next gym leader, Sabrina. Now Sabrina has her Crawdon, Ursaluna, Gardevoir, Indeedee, Hatterena, and Polygon 2. We start off the fight with our Crobat versus Serena, and she brings out her Hatterene. Hatterene then makes quick work of our Crobat, which is kind of concerning. I then bring out Swellow, and Hatterene also kills him too. Next up is Talonflame, and we can use Flare Blitz to take out the Hatterene. Then we can use Flare Blitz on Gardevoir and gets it down to 30% HP. Talonflame goes down, and then we can switch into Rillaboom, which you can use U-turn and take out the Gardevoir. And then swap into our Galade, and Sabrina switches out into Ursaluna. We Mega Evolve Galade, and go for a Sacred Sword. We go for a second Sacred Sword, and the Ursaluna goes down. Next in is Porygon 2, and we make quick work of him. After the Porygon 2, Crawdon comes in, and we use Sacred Sword to get it down to 1% HP. However, it then takes down my Galade, and I can switch into Rillaboom to take the Crawdon down. Indeedee comes in next, and we can take that down pretty much instantly, and that means we have our next badge, the Master Badge. On day 74, it was time to go exploring a little bit, and I came across this Moltres. I don't know, it was like the Keldeo, the Moltres was just on top of the mountain for some reason. I don't understand these legendary spawns anymore, but you know what? I had to add him to our collection. Of course I did. A few days later, I was swimming around in our ocean near our house, and look what I found at the bottom of the ocean. A goddamn Kyogre. Kyogre is one of my favourite Pokemon, along with Groudon and Rayquaza. Emerald was the first ever game I ever played, so, you know, I had to try and get Kyogre, any means necessary. However, this Kyogre was probably going to be level 70, so we sent in our Rillaboom and hoped for the best. Now, obviously, this Kyogre was level 70 and our Pokemon was a little bit underleveled. However, I managed to grab some dive balls that I had in my backpack and maybe capture the Kyogre. There we go. We had caught our Kyogre. Look at this little guy. He's insane. I love him. Now it's time for our next gym leader, the Poison Gym Leader Koga, with the Swallow, Dragapult, Drapion, Selgor, Toxtricity, and his Greninja. So we start off day 80 by fighting Leader Koga. He sends out his Swallow and I send out my Crobat and set up a Tailwind. Swallow outspeeds us and uses Boom Burst and gets us down to 1 HP, and we're able to set up Tailwind and then go down to another Boom Burst. We send in Garchomp and then we go for a Rock Slide, which takes out the Swallow. Next comes in a Selgor and we go down to his Focus Blast. We then send in Gallade and Mirror Evolve and go for a Psycho Cut. This means we're able to take out the Selgor with pretty much no difficulty. Toxtricity comes in next and takes out our Gallade. We then switch in Rillaboom and go for a higher horsepower, killing the Toxtricity. Drapion is next and kills our Rillaboom. So that means we switch in Kyogre and we're able to take out the Drapion pretty quickly and take out the Dragapult as well. All but left is the Greninja. And listen, the Greninja was outside the building, okay? So I did this little guy. But we take out our Greninja pretty easily and that means we won the battle. There we go, we have our Soul Badge. And that is 6 badges down. Next up is the 7th badge, Blaine, with his Executor, Typhlosion, Charizard, Cinderace, Infernape, and Torkoal. We start the fight with Blaine by him sending out his Torkoal, which sets up the sun, and we send out our Crobat. We go for a Tailwind, and that means we're going to be able to outspeed. The Torkoal goes for Explosion and does about half health of damage to our Crobat. He sends out Cinderace, and then our Crobat goes down. We then send in our Garchomp and go for an Earthquake and do about 50% HP, and then we fall to a high jump kick. We then send in Swallow and we go for an Aerolase. However, Cinderace is faster and takes down our Swallow. We then send in Kyogre and he's on fire, don't ask me why, but then we are able to take down a Cinderace with an Origin Pulse. We then switch out into Gallade and go for a Psycho Cut, meaning we're able to take out the Executor. Next in comes Blaine's Typhlosion and we're able to use a Sacred Sword to get him down to quite low HP. Blaine then uses Flamethrower and gets us down to 9 HP. Then we can go for another Psycho Cut and finish off the Typhlosion. Blaine then sends in his Sunflora and we can go for another Psycho Cut to get him down to very low HP. He uses Flamethrower and outspeeds our Glade, and then we can switch into Kyogre to finish off the Sunflora. Blaine then sends in his final Pokemon, which is Charizard. We can go for an Origin Pulse on our Kyogre and finish off the Charizard there and then. And there we go, we have beaten Blaine and got our 7th gym badge. Look at that, we have the Volcano badge. After returning home from the 7th gym, I came across this guy in our fishing hut for some reason a Diancie, another legendary Pokemon. So I obviously added him to our collection. I honestly do believe that Diancie does have one of the coolest looking models in this game. And then I could put the volcano badge on our little tree here with all our other badges. Now it's time for our final boss fight. Obviously we still have one gym leader left, but it was time to face Giovanni. And this time he had a pretty stacked team. Now I'm not going to spoil this battle as this one is a double battle and I feel like it's better if we don't spoil the team. So we're just going to get it underway and see how it goes. So here we go, we start off our final fight with Giovanni. He sends out Tapu Fini and Scrafty and we send out Kyogre and Crobat. I set up Tailwind with Crobat and go for an Origin Pulse into Tapu Lele and Scrafty. However they both go into Crobat and Crobat goes down. I then switch in Rillaboom and we can go for a Glassy Glide and an Origin Pulse on the Scrafty. And then we can go for another Origin Pulse on the Mewtwo and the Scrafty. Swellow comes in next with our Kyogre, and he brings in his Tyranitar and Celesteela. I'm able to outspeed both of them with Swellow and kill the Celesteela. I switch into Rillaboom and then we can use Origin Pulse to take out the Excadrill. Now he only has Tyranitar left, so I go for a Dragon Claw and take out the Tyranitar. And now what do we get for beating Giovanni? That's right, we get a Master Ball. After defeating Giovanni, I came across this Cherry Blossom biome, and when I was there, a Celebi spawned, so obviously it was another legendary to add to our collection. On day 95, it was time for our final gym leader in Claire, with her Duraludon, Nargel, Magerna, Dracovish, Dragonite and Aerodactyl. We start the fight as always with our Crobat and Claire's Aerodactyl. We set up a Tailwind and then go straight down to the Aerodactyl's attack. We then send in Kyogre and we can go for an Origin Pulse to take down the Aerodactyl. After Aerodactyl, she sends in Magerna and then we can go for another Origin Pulse to take her down straight away. Claire then sends in Dragonite and I have to switch out Kyogre. I switch out Kyogre into Garchomp, and Dragonite goes for extreme speed. She then switches out Dragonite into Duraludon, and I'm able to use Earthquake to take it out straight away. Next the Dragonite comes back in, and I'm probably going to be able to outspeed, and I go for a Dragon Claw. However, it uses extreme speed and outspeeds me, however the Dragon Claw still connects and kills the Dragonite. Next comes in Dracovish and I use the exact same strat, I go for a Dragon Claw. However the Dracovish outspeeds my Garchomp and then I have to switch in Rillaboom and go for a Grassy Glide and kill the Dracovish. Rillaboom then goes down so we have to switch into Gallade. We are able to Mega Evolve and go for a Psycho Cut. The Nargel uses Draco Meteor, however we can reply with Psycho Cut and take down the Nargel, winning us the fight and winning our 8th gym badge, the Rising badge. There we go. We have managed to do it and defeat all 8 gym badges in 100 days. Now the only thing left to do is to capture the final level 100 Rayquaza. Luckily we have our Master Ball and can make this pretty quick and swift work. We break into Rayquaza's little arena here, and we're greeted by level 100 Rayquaza. Now, the only obviously right thing to do is to bring out Rillaboom. So we're going to start the fight with Rayquaza, and there we go, our Rillaboom versus Rayquaza. He is level 100, but obviously we have our Master Ball and can catch him straight away. And boom! There we go. We have put Rayquaza into the Master Ball. And there we go, we have captured our level 100 Rayquaza, and I wouldn't have rather done it with any other Pokemon, but our little buddy, our Rillaboom. So now, as I get back to our base, it is time to throw out our level 100 Rayquaza and take him for a test spin. Look how sick this looks when you're flying around on him. Honestly, it's actually insane. But there we go, look at Rayquaza, look at him. I love the model for him, and that is actually our 200th Pokemon. We completed our challenge of getting 200 Pokemon, and that's it. That is the 100 days over. We managed to capture a bunch of Pokemon, actually 200 of them, and saw over about 400 of them, which is kind of insane. We managed to make a crazy mine colonies village, which I really do enjoy, and obviously we built our house, we made a berry farm, we went mining, we explored, we done everything we set out to do, and honestly I couldn't be more happy about it. If you ever want to see any more videos on mine colonies or Cobblemon or even just Minecraft, let me know in the comments, but please like, comment, share and subscribe. And everyone, I will see you in the next one. I just wanted to take a minute and show you my team. So obviously this 6 Pokemon, we have our Rillaboom, Crobat, Kyogre, Swellow, Garchomp and our Gallade, were obviously the MVPs of our 100 days. But yeah, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will all see you in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. See you later guys. Peace. GlowUmbra out. Goodbye guys. Bye.